In Palestine, Israeli genocidal forces has been dropping bombs on residential buildings in the southern Gaza Strip from Thursday evening to Friday morning, claiming at least 38 lives, including 14 children, as the siege in the region continues. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, arrived in Algeria to hold a meeting with the Algerian Prime Minister, Mohamed Nadir al-Bakri, to discuss issues of mutual interest. In Uruguay, the election silence is underway ahead of the upcoming national elections to be held on Sunday, October the 27th. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the TeleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. Will you be with the news? Stay with us. In Palestine, Israeli genocidal forces have been dropping bombs on residential buildings in the southern Gaza Strip from Thursday evening to Friday morning, claiming at least 38 lives, including 14 children. This has been part of the Israeli ground offensive in Al-Manara neighborhood of Khan Younis, amounting the deaths to 38, mostly women and children, in addition to the multiple injured. Furthermore, at the Nasser Healthcare Center, the physicians told that 14 children died by the suffocations as a result of the deadly shelling on buildings, which caused collapse while people were still inside. The Israeli occupation arrested nearly 65 people in the midst of its illegal raids against Palestinian residents of the occupied Jerusalem. The raids were carried out in the town of Anara, east of the occupied Jerusalem. During the operations, the occupation forces raided and destroyed homes, in addition to threatening the life of the residents. The residents also denounced the occupation of one of the houses to be used as a military base where civilians are held and substitute interrogations under torture.
We were all women and children. I lost my husband and my sister lost her husband. There was no fighter here. We were all civilians. Suddenly, we all found ourselves under the rubble and we dug with our hands to get our children out from under the rubble. We were bombed at 10 p.m. and at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, the ambulance and civil defense came. Those who were under the rubble had already died.
In this context, the Palestinian resistance Hamas called on the international community for a massive protest in rejection of the Israeli occupation and the crimes committed in the territory. The movement also denounced that the Israeli offensive since October 2023 has claimed the life of at least 42,847 Palestinians and has left more than 100,000 injured. In this regard, the international community condemns the Israeli genocide and calls for a massive manifestation rejecting the Israeli invasion. Let's take a very first break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In Russia, at the final plenary session of the 16th BRICS Summit, leaders stressed the need to strengthen multilateralism and reinforce global institutions to promote world development. Let's see.
President of China, Xi Jinping, emphasized the importance of the BRICS group and its meetings to promote the world's development.
We must give vigor to development in the world. The global south emerges through development and becomes prosperous through development. We must be the main force for development and have a new active and leading role in this new governance to achieve development in this international trade agenda.
Likewise, the External Affairs Minister of India expressed that the BRICS summit is a testimony that there are profound changes needed in the world order.
The BRICS is the testimony that there are profound changes that are emerging in the obsolete world order, and they are the problems that come from many years ago but acquired new forms. We are approaching the management of contemporary technologies and resources. We must recognize that the benefits of globalization are distributed unfairly.
On his hand, the Iranian president highlighted the important role of the BRICS economy bloc and the global south in the construction of a multipolar world.
The BRICS and the Global South, by jointly building a better world, can take meaningful actions to establish better systems and fairer relations based on collective satisfactions. This building collisions and establishing friendly relations is important for all countries to be free from unilateralism.
During his intervention, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, condemned the genocide perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinian population and spoke out in support of the victims.
South Africa is very concerned about the military actions of the State of Israel against the people of Gaza, which we have given the name of genocide. And this genocide is of great concern. It has led South Africa to approach the International Court of Justice to solve this problem of killing of innocent women and children in Gaza. We believe that the world cannot stand by and watch this murder with folded hands, and we have been steadfast in our support in all efforts to establish a viable Palestinian state existing side by side with Israel in peace with internationally recognized borders based on 1967 with Jerusalem as the capital.
Furthermore, in the encounter, the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, urged to take the necessary measures for Israel to withdraw its troops from the Gaza Strip.
The Israeli government has taken the decision to close the Central Labor Office in eastern Jerusalem, which prevents it from ensuring the primary needs of the Palestinian refugees in the occupied Palestinian territories. All measures must be taken to make the Israeli government desist from these practices, and it is therefore of utmost importance to implement the United Nations Security Council resolutions to ensure full access and withdraw Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip so that the local inhabitants can return to their homes and engage in post-conflict recovery.
The leaders of the world powers assured that they seek the construction of a multipolar world that promotes a new sustainable world order where injustice, violence, and false flags of freedom will have no place, but equity and global cooperation will.
For its part, the government of Venezuela released a statement thanking the invitation of the BRICS Plus summit in Quezon and condemned the Brazilian decision to veto Venezuela's entry to the mechanism. In its statements, Caracas declared that Venezuela has the support of countries participating in the summit to formalize its entry into this integration mechanism. But through an action that contradicts the nature of the BRICS, the Brazilian Foreign Ministry delegation, led by Ambassador Eduardo Paes Aboya, decided to maintain the veto that Bolsonaro applied on Venezuela for years, reproducing the hate, the exclusion, and the intolerance promoted by center of Western powers to prevent from now the entry of Bolivar's homeland to the organization. Finally, the statement closed by affirming that the Venezuelan people is ashamed of these unacceptable and immoral aggressions from the Brazilian Foreign Ministry that maintains the worst of Bolsonaro's policies against the Bolivarian revolution found by Commander Hugo Chavez. Cuba expressed its gratitude for joining the BRICS group as a partner. Through his social media account, President Miguel Díaz-Canel said, Cuba is honored to enter as a partner country in the BRICS, 5 letters of a great hope for the countries of the South on the arduous path towards a more just, democratic, equitable, and sustainable international order. The President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, arrived in Algeria to hold a meeting with the Algerian Prime Minister Mohamed Nadir Lara Boukid to discuss issues of mutual interest. Caracas and Algiers have maintained strong diplomatic, economic, and social relations for more than 50 years. The African country being a partner for the revolution. Last time the Venezuelan president traveled to the African country was in September 2023, with the commitment of both nations to the construction of a multi-centric and pluripolar world was reaffirmed. And the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, paid an official visit to India on Friday in order to consolidate bilateral economic cooperation relations. In this context, the Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dharkar, met with his Venezuelan counterpart, Rodriguez, to address ways to expand their ties in different sectors. After having attended the 16th BRICS Summit, the Venezuelan Vice President is fulfilling her abroad work agenda in India to strengthen the Caracas-New Delhi alliance in trade, energy, and pharmaceutical areas.
I would like to thank personally, on behalf of President Nicolás Maduro, the Vice President, an extraordinary friend of Venezuela, very dear to me. I would like to thank the support of India so that Venezuela can formally join the BRICS and that we address that should be our strategic relation of the future. A great producer, the largest oil reserve on the planet. Venezuela has them, an energetic leader that is, despite the criminal blockade, the economic aggression against Venezuela, recovering its productive path to position itself in that strategic role that must play in the international energy market. And India, an economic power, the third economy in the world, and it will consolidate on that path.
Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch an interview, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. From financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Mexican state approved a reform that prevents challenging modifications to the Constitution through judicial appeals. The constitutional reform has been passed with 85 votes in favor by Morena's legislators, allies for the Labor and Green parties. The ruling was sent to the lawmakers to complete the legislative process. In this way, the text grants that unconstitutional actions will not lead to any changes in the Constitution. However, members of the judiciary reject the motion. For their part, experts point out that the three branches of government are facing a conflict that could trigger an unprecedented constitutional controversy. The UN reported that at least 5.4 million people in Haiti are in situation of famine as a consequence of violence in the country. According to the agency report, more than 2 million Haitians are facing emergency levels of hunger. The text points out that 1 out of 4 displaced people suffer from food insecurity, while 6,000 Haitians are forced to abandon their homes and could be at an acute level of hunger. The UN points out that from March to June 2024, almost 700,000 Haitians left their homes and lost their livelihoods, with no way to feed their families as a result of the gun violence. Cuba is making progress in the recovery of the eastern province of Guantanamo after the passage of Hurricane Oscar. The National Civil Defense advised the population to comply in a disciplined manner with information and indicate of local authorities. Likewise, it urged citizens to maintain the measures to protect their lives and those of their relatives and neighbors. Additionally, the agency acknowledged the work of Guantanamo management bodies and the behavior of the population during the event. As a response to the situation, the Cuban Workers Federation made a call for solidarity and asked the population to make donations to help families in the province of Guantanamo. The call had an immediate response from the country's workers and citizens. The donations will be delivered to the Cuban government to be sent to the people in need of the affected areas. Ecuador's government admitted unprecedented electricity crisis after announcing national blackouts of 14 hours a day. The Minister of Energy and Mines of Ecuador, Ines Manzano, admitted that the energy crisis in Quito is an event never seen before. Manzano explained that the main problems is the depressed flow of Massacre and Coca-Cola, the Sinclair Dam to keep running the hydroelectric power stations. The Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa promised that during his government, a total of 1,588 megawatts will be included, but so far only over 400 megawatts have been incorporated.
We are facing a dynamic and unprecedented crisis that forces us to adapt to changing scenarios. Therefore, we have taken the painful but responsible decision to modify the rationing plan, increasing it from 8 to 14 hours a day, and that will be evaluated on Sunday. We made this tough decision based on the difficult weather situation.
In Uruguay, the election silence is underway as over 2 million people reflect on their voting intentions for the upcoming national elections of Sunday, November 27th. The election silence comes after the past Tuesday the candidates officially closed their electoral campaigns. The measures bans political leaders and citizens to perform acts of proselytism, propaganda on public roads, on facilities, and online, as well as print outlets, radio, or the television. Likewise, any type of social, cultural, or sporting event has been suspended to guarantee peaceful days before going to the polls. This general ballot seeks to the elections of the President and Vice President of the Republic, as well as the new members of the Uruguayan Parliament. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the south of Marmarero, thank you for watching.